Everyone at the grand mansion knew that little Aisha never let anyone near her except her mother, Mina. It had become an unspoken rule among the staff: don't try to hold the baby, don't try to make her smile, don't even try to peek into her stroller unless you were prepared for an ear-piercing cry that echoed through the marble corridors. Aisha was a small, delicate child, barely a year old, with big frightened eyes that clung to every movement around her. She had grown up in the quiet shadows of the mansion where her mother worked tirelessly as a cleaning lady, scrubbing floors and polishing surfaces that reflected a kind of wealth she could never imagine owning. Perhaps it was the constant change of faces, the intimidating size of the house, or the restless energy of being raised in someone else's world that made Aisha so fearful. No one truly knew. They only knew that the baby trusted no one but Mina. Mina herself was a woman of few words. She would arrive before sunrise, carry Aisha on her hip with her cleaning supplies in the other hand, and move through the mansion silently, like someone who had learned to make herself invisible. Her life had been difficult long before she ever took this job. Stories of loss and hardship clung to her the way dust clung to furniture. She had no family to lean on and no one who could watch the baby while she worked. So Aisha came with her every day, wrapped in a faded blanket, witnessing a world that wasn't hers. Despite the challenges, Mina never complained. She worked with humility, grateful for the chance to keep her daughter close. Still, each day she worried about how frightened Aisha seemed of people. The child would shrink into her mother's chest if someone approached, curling her fingers into tight little fists, burying her face into Mina's neck as though the world outside her mother's arms was too overwhelming to bear. The mansion was preparing for a grand charity event that evening, an extravagant gathering where wealthy guests would stroll through the marble halls, admiring chandeliers, sipping wine, and commenting on art pieces they pretended to understand. Mina, as always, stayed in the background. She moved quietly from room to room, making sure every surface gleamed, every floral arrangement was perfectly adjusted, and every carpet line was straight. Aisha, tired from the long day, rested against her mother's shoulder, her tiny head bobbing as sleep tugged at her. When the first guests arrived, Mina retreated to the corner of the hall, trying to stay out of sight while finishing her last bit of polishing. The door to the grand hall swung open with a gentle hush, and in walked Mr. Rahil Verma, the owner of the mansion, a man whose presence alone made people stand straighter. Tall, composed, dressed in an impeccably tailored black suit, he carried an air of authority that could calm a room or intimidate it, depending on his mood. Rahil was known for his wealth, his business empire, and his almost emotionless demeanor. Though respected, he was unapproachable, a man who existed behind a layer of armor built from years of isolation and personal disappointment. His eyes were sharp, his walk confident, and yet there was always something hollow about the way he moved, as if nothing in his world ever truly touched him. He seldom noticed the staff, not out of pride, but because he lived inside his own private storms, financial pressure, unresolved grief, a loneliness he didn't dare acknowledge. So when his gaze accidentally drifted toward Mina in the corner, he barely registered her presence. But Aisha saw him. Something in the baby shifted. Her sleepy eyes widened, studying the millionaire with surprising intensity. She didn't cry. She didn't cling tighter to Mina. Instead, her tiny body leaned forward, her small arms stretching uncertainly into the air. At first no one understood what she was doing. Rahil certainly didn't. He paused mid-step, confusion flickering through his usually calm expression. And before anyone could fully process it, little Aisha let out a soft, eager whimper, the kind she only made when she desperately wanted to be held. Toward him, the entire hall froze. Mina gasped, her hands instinctively pulling Aisha closer, unable to believe what she was seeing. Staff members exchanged stunned glances. A baby who never went to anyone, reaching out to the most distant, intimidating man in the room. For a moment, even Rahil stood speechless, unsure whether to move forward or step back. But Aisha's arms remained outstretched, trembling with anticipation, as though her tiny heart recognized something in him that the world had overlooked. When Rahil finally stepped closer, it was as if the room itself held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. He hesitated at first, unsure whether he should reach out or keep his distance. He had never been the type of man who knew how to handle children. His life had always been consumed by meetings, deadlines, and the cold precision of business, worlds where emotions had no place and tenderness was a forgotten language. Yet there was something about the way Aisha stretched toward him, something fragile and earnest, that stirred a feeling deep inside him. Slowly, almost cautiously, he extended his arms. Mina watched anxiously, her heart pounding so hard she thought the entire hall could hear it. She wanted to pull her baby back, to protect her from any misunderstanding or disappointment. But Aisha leaned forward willingly, her small body leaving the familiar safety of her mother's arms and settling against the chest of the man she had chosen. The moment Rahil held her, everything around him seemed to quiet. The noise from the party faded, the footsteps and chatter became distant, and all he could feel was the softness of this tiny child resting calmly against him. Aisha didn't tense up or hesitate. Instead, she nestled into his suit as though she had been waiting for this contact all her life. Her small fingers curled gently into the fabric near his collar, gripping him not with fear, but with trust. For Rahil, it was a feeling he hadn't known in years, maybe ever. Something inside him cracked open. He wasn't sure if it was his heart, his memories, or simply the weight of emotions he had pushed aside for so long. He just knew that holding her made him feel unexpectedly human, painfully present, and strangely whole. Mina stood a few steps away, her breath unsteady as she watched the scene unfold. She couldn't understand what was happening. For months she had been the only person Aisha trusted, the only one who could calm her cry or soothe her fears. And yet here was her baby, lying peacefully against a man she had never met, a man whose very presence usually intimidated the entire household. Mina felt a wave of fear rush through her. Was this a mistake? Would someone think she had done something wrong? Would Rahil be offended, or worse, make assumptions she couldn't defend herself from? But those thoughts were interrupted when she saw something else, something unexpected in the millionaire's expression. His face, usually so composed and unreadable, had softened. His features carried a gentleness she never imagined he possessed. For the first time, she saw not a powerful businessman, but a man carrying invisible loneliness, holding a child who unknowingly reached the part of him no one else ever had. Rahil slowly moved a hand to support Aisha's back, guiding her head to rest more comfortably on his shoulder. He could feel her warm breath against his neck, slow and even, as if she trusted him completely. It was shocking, unsettling even, to be given such pure acceptance from someone so small and innocent. He swallowed hard, trying to understand the emotions flooding him. Memories flickered in the back of his mind, his mother's soft lullabies, the faint scent of jasmine from his childhood home, the echo of a little sister he had lost far too soon. Feelings he had buried behind years of ambition and endless responsibilities rose to the surface, uninvited but powerful. Holding Aisha felt like holding a piece of the life he had forgotten, a reminder of a man he once was or could have been if heartbreak hadn't carved so many cracks in his spirit. Across from him, Mina felt a strange ache in her chest. She didn't fully trust the world, and she certainly didn't trust wealthy people who lived behind walls of privilege, insulated from hardships like hers. Yet something about the way Rahil stood there, silent, vulnerable, almost afraid to breathe for fear of disturbing the child in his arms, made her realize he wasn't as unfeeling as he appeared. There was pain in him, unspoken but visible in the way he held Aisha with such care. And for the first time, Mina felt the faint stirrings of understanding, even compassion. She didn't know what brought this unexpected moment into her life, but she sensed it meant something bigger than all of them. As Aisha continued to cling to him, a subtle but profound shift happened, not just in Rahil's demeanor, but in the atmosphere around them. The staff who had witnessed countless events, countless encounters, stood mesmerized, sensing this was no ordinary moment. It was as if Aisha saw straight through the layers of wealth, armor, and silence wrapped around the millionaire and touched the lonely heart hidden beneath. And Rahil, feeling that touch, felt something awaken inside him, something he didn't know he was missing. Mina didn't know it yet, but this moment would change the direction of their lives in ways none of them could imagine. A connection had been formed, delicate yet unbreakable, born from the unspoken recognition between a lonely child and a lonely man who both needed each other more than they knew.